want to transition to Drew Lock and the Denver Broncos. Let's talk about Drew Lock. So the Denver Broncos obviously selected Drew Lock in the 2019 NFL Draft, which was 2 seasons ago. And he was a second-round pick. And at the time, I thought Drew Lock was an absolute steal for the Denver Broncos. I saw him in college. I watched him. He was a 4-year starter with a big-time arm. He was mobile. And he won a lot of games at Missouri with not a whole lot of NFL talent around him. It was not like he was playing with 4- and 5-star guys all the time. Missouri doesn't get those type of players, okay? They're like the 6th or 7th best SEC team in their own conference, okay? And I thought that Drew Lock was a potential future franchise quarterback. But so far in the NFL, based on what I've seen, Drew Lock to me has been a disappointment. Now, his rookie year, he came in, he won some games, he did some nice things. But this past year in 2020, Drew Lock was just bad. He was not very good. He was one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the NFL. He turned the football over way too much. He wasn't very accurate. And he, more times than not, was the weak link of the Denver Broncos offense. He was holding that offense back with his missed throws and turnovers, you know. And it's not like Drew Lock doesn't have good players around him, okay? I understand Courtland Sutton was hurt this past year, but Drew Lock still had Noah Fant to throw to, who's one of the best young tight ends in all football. He still had Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler. You know, Tim Patrick was a good player that came onto the scene this past year. He had good weapons. He had 2 good running backs in Phillip Lindsay and Melvin Gordon. Not to mention Pat Shurmur is one of the best offensive coordinators in the entire NFL. He's well respected among NFL circles as a coordinator, okay? And in today's NFL, a lot of general managers are quick to move on from quarterback. You look at Josh Rosen, the Arizona Cardinals, they moved on from him after a year. Dwayne Haskins didn't last 2 seasons in Washington. He's now in Pittsburgh, you know? Even teams like the Rams, Jared Goff got them to a Super Bowl. They moved on from Jared Goff because they didn't think Jared Goff is good enough to get them over the hump. The Philadelphia Eagles, Carson Wentz showed that he could play at an MVP level in the past, but they moved on from him. The 49ers, they traded up in the draft to number 3 overall to obviously select a quarterback probably. They're probably going to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo, a guy that's gotten them to a Super Bowl. The Kansas City Chiefs, they moved on from Alex Smith. You know, and Alex Smith won them games. He got them to the playoffs. NFL general managers and NFL teams are moving on from quarterbacks faster than ever because there's so many good college quarterbacks out there, and quarterbacks are getting paid a ton of money these days that it's a huge investment. You know, if you're going to really invest in a franchise quarterback, eventually, unless they're going to take a pay cut, it's going to cost you $30+ million per year eventually to pay that quarterback. And that's a lot of money, you know. And even some guys are getting paid $40+ million per year. And that number could go up even more and more as the years go on, okay? And look, I still think Drew Lock has a chance to salvage his career because he does have arm talent. He is a strong thrower of the football. He can move around and make plays, but I see a lot of things I don't like. He's way too casual with the football. He does turn the football over a lot. He plays a lot like Jay Cutler, but even Jay Cutler, to me, showed a lot more flashes than Drew Lock as a player, no doubt about it. And by the way, Jay Cutler had a bad attitude. I do think Drew Lock has the right attitude. There are reports that he's been working with Peyton Manning this offseason to get better. So look, Drew Lock does have talent, and there could be a world where he ends up being a long-term franchise quarterback. And I would lean towards giving Drew Lock one more season. I do believe quarterbacks deserve time to develop properly. So I want to see what Drew Lock does with the Broncos for one more year. Obviously, if they could have gotten a guy like Deshaun Watson or Matthew Stafford, you'd probably make that move. But I still am in the wait-and-see mode with Drew Lock. However, he's not giving me much hope, okay? And he's not giving the Broncos fans much hope either. You know, he's been very up and down. And the Denver Broncos are going to have to make a decision on Drew Lock. Are they going to trade up and draft a guy like Justin Fields? You know, maybe Trey Lance, maybe Mac Jones, you know? What are they going to do? Are they all in on Drew Lock, or are they going to move on from the guy? You know, so far it looks like they're all in on Drew Lock, and they're going to give him one more year to try to prove to the organization what he can do. But it's a make or break year for Drew Lock, and the Denver Broncos will eventually have to make a tough decision regarding Drew Lock's future. We shall see what Drew Lock brings to the table at this point going forward with the Denver Broncos, if he's indeed their franchise quarterback going forward. We shall see. Thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the Juice Alert Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. And I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big-time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the Juice Alert Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God bless day, and I'm out.